What are the 2 times to execute systems? Yesterday we covered the fundamentals of systems, the 4 components, the system itself, the processes of that system, the templates that are in a system, and of course, most importantly, the results. And one thing that was not possible to cover in that was, well, when do you use these systems? And I want to share the 2 times with you. You see, this is important because some systems will be on a regular schedule. They'll be on a daily execution or a weekly execution, perhaps a monthly, quarterly, or even a yearly execution. And the trap that you'll run into with these is not hitting the schedule. How do you do it? Well, the easiest way is to set a recurring calendar entry and link to wherever you execute your systems. If that's in your project management system, that's great. If that's in a Google Sheet, that's great as well. Just link directly to that system. The reminder comes and off you go. Ideally, you actually block out that time in your calendar so that you have the time available to execute it. This would require you to know how long roughly it's going to take. Is it going to take half an hour? Is it going to take an hour? Is it going to take 2 hours? And for you to be on point and not have something taking that time already. Be very careful about scheduling these systems as free time, because if you do not do them and they're regularly scheduled, then you will have to find time later on to catch up. This is not so good. So that's the first time. Scheduled systems. The second, well, what's the second? The second is on demand. So this is not due to a time frame, but rather something happens, a trigger happens, and then that system will get executed. This can be set up where you have a system that sets off a number of other systems. So there's a master system that perhaps triggers 3 more. You can set up all sorts of stuff. Triggers might include a new client comes on board. It might include a requirement for a new project to be completed. There can be many, many different types of triggers that lead to you having to execute that system. So these are not ones that happen on a regularly scheduled basis, but happen on demand. The trap that you'll find with this one is remembering that you have these systems already created. I had an opportunity to use a system that I last used at least 6 to 7 months ago. And the reason that I know that is that it was a system that I use with music. This is not a business system. This is outside. This is extracurricular. But the reason I know that it was 6 to 7 months ago is the last time I had a lesson was 6 to 7 months ago. And it hasn't been used since then. And suddenly there was the requirement. What this system does, oh, check out that gecko, hey? There's a gecko on the window. Right on. It's a lucky sign. What that system does is it takes a verbal song that is provided and turns it into music. And there's about 4 steps in this. This is not an overly complex system, but the fact that I had that system meant that I executed and took through from the song to the completed music in less than an hour. What would have happened usually is that I would not have been able to do this at all. I may have got lucky and been able to remember some steps and then problem shot the rest of them and got there. But having them all documented out, it's like, oh yeah, I remember this, I remember this, I remember this. System executed. So, in review, 2 times that systems will be executed. Number 1, on demand. This is your more challenging one. This is where you want to have a list somewhere of all of your systems and preferably have them defined as scheduled or on demand. And then you can scroll through and say, oh yeah, that's an on-demand one that I can use now. If you don't see the system, then you need to create a new one. That's a whole different skill set. But let's say that you do have it, then you just execute that system. Same with scheduled, put them in your calendar, block out the time, and then execute. All right, I hope you found that useful. This could be transformational for the right business. If you are struggling with systems that you know that are meant to be done on a schedule but keep getting missed, and therefore you have to deal with the fires and the problems and the stress and the long hours and the stressed out employees and employees coming to you to ask how to recover from these situations that should have been done. Or you're finding yourself dealing with the consequences which are messy. You're like, oh man, how did we miss this? What I want you to do is to think about putting in those calendar entries on the recurring schedule. Think about who's going to do the work and how will it be tracked. All of those things can be approached from a systems perspective in a very reasonable manner. If you need some help with that, head over to systemio.dev. Thanks so much for tuning in today's episode. I hope that you got a lot of value out of it. I look forward to seeing you on tomorrow's episode as we continue this journey into the power of systems to create results. See you then.